All right, what's up, people? In order that I do not either invoke anything or evoke anything or whatever you want to say, I'm going to skip past this part here, but it's going to be kind of a little bit of a deep dive on this. I think this is really interesting. And this, of course, is the Azoetia. We're about, how far are we about through it? Not exactly half. So, let's go. The negative arcana are attained by the synesthesia. Of the sinistrality of the self-senses in the abode of the shadow, and thus in the domain of the great watcher within, and by the parallel synesthesia of dexterality of the self-senses being focused on their original domain. That is, by the left-handedness of mine entity being slain unto the void, to the infernal abode, and to those enshrined therein, while the right-handedness of my being becometh the oracle. Okay, so I know I butchered that. I should probably fucking do this over, but you know I'm not about all that nonsense. I riff, and I don't read very well. I do, but not out loud. I was always that kid that I hated getting picked on in school. I'm kidding. But this is him, basically. Kenneth Grant influenced this guy a lot, but he's giving his definitions of left-hand, right-hand path. Now, what he's going to do, and this is the interesting part, is because, again, you have to get back to what he's doing. He's conjuring the 13th letter. All right? So what he's going to do is he's going to do something very interesting here. So, what does he say? In this understanding, let my sinistrality be sacrificed. Now, that's very important. What does he mean by that? He means that he is going to vector himself completely RHP. He said, let my sinistrality be sacrificed, that I may gain the visions of the subtle airs of the infernal sabbatic conclaves, whilst on the right-handedness of mine enemy remaineth on its original state of being to serve as the oracle for the sacred visions and powers of these arcana and their transmission unto the mundane. Now, what he's doing here is, and this, I find this very interesting, because one of the things that I really like about Chumley, and why I think Chumley is probably the most underestimated magus of all time, is that he has a very alchemical understanding and a very sexual understanding of magic. And so what he's doing is he's separating himself from himself. It reminds me of the myth of Odin, where he sacrificed himself to himself. There's that duality, but there has to be something that is given for something that is gained. So, I mean, I'll let you kind of read a little bit more, because I don't really want to, like I say, this isn't even italicized. So, like over here, we're italicized. So, over here, I know this is what I was working on earlier today, is that we're going, first of all, in my opinion, this here is probably, I would say, the most central section of the Azoetia. I already made a video on it, which leads to this. But then we get to this. Here follow the 8 paths whereby the sigillic forms of gnosis are revealed. And then so like you go through 3 by the power, by the power, by the powers. Notice power, power, powers, right? You got to notice these subtle differences. These differences matter. And then here we get to number 4. But number 4, by the hand, by the hand, by the hand. And then here, by the union of signs, encoding the secret wishes of the heart, thou shalt fashion a cipher. By the conjuration of letters, sacred and mundane, form you glyphs in the tongue of desires. Let hand, eye, and quill be guided in the auto-aestheticism of sexual reverie. See again. Sexual, like I said. Thus to fashion the spells of bewitchment, glamour, attraction, enchantment, and metamorphosis. By the union of signs. Now see, you notice how everything is, and that's different. I'm doing the working, okay? By the hand. Okay, so we had 3 powers, and then we had 4 hands and 1 union, right? Is that right? That's the 8. One of my funniest occult experiences was, I should do a fucking video on this someday about and then see we get into the 13th letter, and again him sacrificing the left-handedness of his, because his approach is union. His approach is always unitive, alchemical, sexual, etc. And he's sacrificing one to achieve another, which is like it's trust me, it's still sexual, but you'll understand it if you understand anything about sex. I'm not talking to the rapists out there, because you guys are weird and despicable. But with the dextral eye of flesh aligned in the perfect telluric configuration of the senses, I watch over all that liveth on the earth and under the earth, in the air and in the sea, in the fire and in the firmament beyond the 4 gates of the horizon. I am he, the king, armless and blind. I am she, the seer, armless and unseeing. I behold the motion of the visible and the invisible powers that walk upon the secret paths of the land. Now see, this is in italics, so I need to be careful. But again, notice the duality, the he and the she. This is, if you really understand Chumley, you'll understand that he is very much bimodal. But he's also attempting, I think if I could, kind of sum this up in a sense, is that, this is the glyph, unique, it's -1. There is no -2, by the way. Is that he is trying to achieve non-duality, but he just doesn't really know how to do it. So his inability to achieve that by what we would call in the Tibetan, we would call that like we would call it Tregschod or Dogdal. These are terms that basically mean instantaneous transmission. But by his frustration in not being able to do that, he gave us, well, he said in his opening that this was intended to be a resurrection of the Grand Grimoire, the true Grand Grimoire. And I actually think he did. As a matter of fact, I'd put the challenge out there for anybody to find me one grander. I don't really think you can. See, this is new. Like I say, I'm constantly working with this text. I'm discovering new things. So A29 is the Hermit. And then I base that on this description here. By baying dog and moonbeam, by lantern, stave, and upright stone. That to me conjures an image of A29, which is the Hermit. But that's just me. I could be wrong about that again. I was going to list this book as an annotated and put it up on eBay for like $10,000. But eBay had a problem with me doing that. I think you can't charge $10,000. Something like that. I have no idea. I know, right? What's the one that I was working on earlier? I'm not going to be able to find it. Was it? No, yeah. It was back to back. Okay, so hell, and then, right, 33, a great number. Then we go to this, remember this one from a previous video? And that's, you see it's not entirely colored. That means it's left imperfect. And then here, the sevenfold curse, okay? I'm not going to read it because you don't want to read that. If you can help it, if that makes any sense. Again, when it's in the italics, that's when he means business. Then you're channeling somebody else and you're working with somebody else's shit. I haven't really gotten to these yet. I'm going to get to them. I got here, though. Again, all the coloring is mine, motherfucker. This is a black and white text. All of this is mine. Exactly. See? You like how I did that? That was almost like Gangster style. You know, I do little shit. I do big shit, too. This was one, like, I mean, I would say that, like, this is the caduceus, or whatever that's called again, the staff that Hermes carries. I could be wrong about that, but that's what it looks like to me. I'm just trying to, fit everything in together, because this guy, I swear to God, like I said, by the futility of the fact of him not being able to just hit samadhi immediately, is that we have his working of his attempt to do so. The palm equals the void. Telesthetic sense and central power. You see, he's trying to get there. I mean, and that's what's beautiful about it, is that this is just a working. Again, like I said, once you understand the non-modality of being, the zodiac of finalities, you can't make this up. Those who know. Those who don't call themselves teachers. The continuum of thought throughout all sentience. You see what I'm saying? Do you see what I'm saying? Like I say, man, I don't sit in a fucking circle and try to conjure shit into a triangle. That's too basic for me, man. My working is on a whole different level. And it's almost what you might call psychological or sociological. The first is the Horned Lord, the idol of the perfect master of the temple. This is the first name. I'm not going to say anymore because, again, just reciting this is like power. These 7 stones which mark the field of many stars. See? Why did I draw attention to that amongst all of this working here? Again, these are all workings. These are all experiments. The 15th letter. And you see every ritual that he does is different for each letter, because each letter requires a different conjuration. I titled this Dragon. I think that's apropos, I would say. Needs a little bit more color, but don't worry, we'll get to it eventually. We'll get to everything eventually. I don't know. But yeah, I know I'm rambling at this point. Oh, the Peacock. I should have done something with that. What's that? Are we dealing with Melikta? I don't know. Losing track here. Come on. Oh, Jesus. Let's see. Yeah, some of this seems kind of... I don't know. Not specifically. But the Peacock is a sign of Melikta. That would be the Yazidi archangel. Kind of like equivalent to Metatron within the Hebrew, meaning that he's basically like the top angel, almost basically like half a god or whatever you want to say. But anywho, so yeah, I know he could fucking Tom watch along, because he was just recommending books, and I didn't really have anything to say about that because I already knew pretty much where he was going to go with it even before watching it. So I just watched it, enjoyed it, and made a couple comments. But no, I did not make a Tom watch along, so it is what it is. I'm gonna have to get to work on this. It's egregious that I haven't worked on that already. Anywho, have fun. Don't watch this. It's way too long. I have no idea what I'm fucking even talking about.